Welcome in the Legionnaires of the Lariat. It is your more handsome host, Mr. Showtime Michael Wright. You guys are now in for a treat. A mutiny is afoot. I have taken over as we are now ranking matches. Let me introduce my partners in crime here, the one and only, and thank goodness, stevezapf
That
and
is I.
scarps Esquire. Hey boys,
I'm,
how's it going?
I'm the most handsome.
Clearly.
Can I be the judge of this? Because
No.
I just want to be in the sandwich. I just want to be in the middle.
That's
You have
cute.
no say. Welcome in, guys. We're gonna try to attempt to do something never done before.
Never
Today, we are going to try to rank our top 10 Mania matches of all times so far. Because I'm actually pretty excited about some of the ones that we're going to see this year at WrestleMania 40 that I think might knock some people out of this list next year. Not to say we'll do this every year, but there's a couple matches that I think we'll be very happy with by the end of Mania this year. I got excitements are at 11. So I want to give a quick little rundown on how we went about this process and how this list came together. The three of us each submitted to me a unique list. Within this list, we ranked 1 to 10. We gave a scoring of if your number one match was a 10, it was the 1, you got 10 points. 2 got 9 points, all the way down to the number 10 that got 1 point. This allowed us to get to about 18 matches in totality, a top 10 plus the ones that got voted on that didn't make the list at the end of the day, which is unfortunate. The ones that I picked were correct and they should have been on this list. The ones you guys didn't shouldn't have been, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Real quick, Showtime, just so the fans at home know, how many actual matches have you watched for this list?
So for this list, I mean, I've watched quite a few beforehand, but in order to prepare this list, I watched about 38 matches. The number that I put together, I think I had 45, so I missed a couple that I just kind of knew weren't going to make the list. But I wanted to. There's a dark time in wrestling that those matches just weren't really up to snuff, to be honest with you. I will say, not everyone followed this. I had my own unique way of discovering what my favorite matches were. It actually made some of the surprises of my ranking myself, but I had a bunch of categories that I gave a point scale to, be it in-ring performance, crowd reaction, creativity and originality, impact on the wrestling world, a few other things. So I did it very analytical, and that's how I came up with my list. I'm not sure how you guys did it. You want to give me, Steven, why don't you give me how you kind of came up with your list before we get into it?
So my list was a little similar to yours, but I did do certain things with it that I felt were my own. I did impact on the business, obviously. How good the match actually was. Lasting effects, which obviously would also fall under impact of the business, but it might have impacted the business right then and there, but it didn't go very far. That was why certain things that I didn't pick might also have been big matches. And actual draw of the match. Draw of the match was a big thing for me. That's why for my listing, when I gave it to you, my number 2 was where it was. It could, if we were going purely off the draw of it, it would have actually been the number 1.
Yeah, no spoilers. Don't spoil this.
Also, I don't care about either one of your choices. Mine were purely analytical in the sense of I analyzed it to see if I liked it. And if I liked the match, I said, that one's going on my list.
And that is apparent. I noticed that immediately.
First of all, my list is fantastic, so we'll get into that in a little bit.
There was, but that's what that's what I truly love about our dynamic here. There's things that we care differently about within these matches. Not anyone is actually right, even though mine's more right. But at the end of the day, I think we have a pretty strong listing here. There's going to be some things on here that everyone shouldn't be all that shocked about. I think where we put some of them, I think will be shocking. There's multiple matches that one was chose over a different one at Mania. I made it pretty clear that I'm not a big fan of duplicate matches at Mania because it's Mania. Like, let's be unique. You want to do a match again, go to SummerSlam, go to King of the Ring, go to another pay-per-view. And like some of those were chosen over the first, which I would have expected the first to be chosen more. And
I'm shocked.
There's some surprises around just matches I wouldn't even have considered in the first place. coming up on here and actually ranking. So there's a lot of good stuff in here. And unless you guys have any other comments, I think I'm going to kick it off with those that were close, but just not quite close enough.
Let's do it.
All right,
So
so
it was like
that's the title of your sex book.
Like bad parallel parking,
something like that. So I'm going to start with the first one. This comes from Wrestlemania 17, and this Scarps. I'm going to let you go first. Kind of just give us a high level of this because these are the ones that didn't make it. Steve and I, if we have something to add, we'll jump in. But this was on your list and it didn't make the list. So you're first up, and we're going to go Hardys, Dudleys, Edge, and Christian in the not TLC match, but the TLC match. It wasn't technically, but it is. But it isn't. But it is. Go ahead, bud.
I was just a really big fan of this match, and for me, I had ranked it at 10, but it was just the match was really over the top. It was high flying. There was a lot of steel chair action in this match, which I really loved. The creative ladder spots. They were jaw-dropping stunts, right? They were just ladder spots all out that match. This is also during a time where table destruction and just destroying things was everything. And there were just so many near falls.
Get the tables.
Yeah, and there were so many near falls and close counts. Like the finish of the match for me too, I thought was pretty awesome. When Edge speared Hardy, there was just a lot of that match that I enjoyed.
I was gonna say this was the spear off the ladder to the hanging Hardy, right?
Yes,
that's what I thought. Okay, this match was cool for that, and I don't normally like train wreck matches, which is the only reason why this probably didn't rank higher on my list. I know this is a very big moment in the Attitude Era. I think part of it for me is also the Attitude Era is not always my favorite era for actual wrestling. And I think that might have had a little bit to do with it. I do like this match. I also think that this is the best part of WrestleMania 17. I know many people rank 17 in general as the best WrestleMania. I don't see it that way. I think it's the epitome of the Attitude Era, but it's also, again, the Attitude Era is not always my favorite for pure wrestling sometimes.
I don't like your attitude, pal.
Exactly.
Well, but you do like Trish Stratus.
Love her.
This one, sorry, again, like I mentioned, these things surprised me, even me, because I thought this was the match the year before. This is the actual first TLC match with the high spots you guys talking about. I just assumed it was the WrestleMania 2000 one because personally I like that one better. But this was a monumental match and I love it. So nice first one to go with. That got 1 point. So nothing made the list that was under 4 points, just for the record.
Well, if this was golf, I'd have the high score. So
you would, and if we stop now, you're the only one that has the list. So you have the static list if you want. So for what was my number 10 and got 1 point as well was Stone Cold versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 14. We got Iron Mike Tyson as the ref, honorary member of DX. I thought this match was awesome. This is we've already seen Stone Cold has become the unstoppable Stone Cold. There's moments in time where Shawn Michaels is trying to go above and beyond to tap out Stone Cold, but no one was really believing that whatsoever after he passed out to Bret Hart the Mania before or 2 Manias before. So this match overall just did everything I wanted it to. It put over Stone Cold. I thought one of the biggest things for me was the swerve of Mike Tyson. I don't think anyone saw that coming. He was so ingrained in DX at the time. And if you kind of take a step back and go Monday Morning Quarterback about this match, you want Mike Tyson to be cheered out of the arena. And he was kind of a heel leading up to it. So him swerving to help Austin at the end, I really popped for that. And I was like, yes, now I can root for Mike Tyson and Stone Cold together. This is amazing. But their ring psychology was on point on this one. And it won after a stunner. I dig on some of the later matches get a worse rating for me because it was I hit you with my finisher 15 times because now it's not a finisher. It's just a move. So that's what that always helps me whenever I get a roll up or an unexpected pin that the match actually ends when I don't expect it to end. that I like more than seeing someone do so many super kicks that I refuse to call it super anymore.
I really like this match. I think I wanted to rank it higher than I did, which might just be a theme with our honorable mentions. I think part of the issue with this was I knew HBK wasn't fully up to snuff because this was right after he'd hurt his back. There was even questioning whether or not he was going to make the match, and that came into play with me a little bit because as far as impact on the business, obviously this is, I guess, the official start of the Stone Cold era, even though, let's face it, he had arrived a little bit before this as far as being the big star that he was. I think that as far as this match goes, though, the one thing that I didn't like was because Michaels was hurt, and I'm sorry that it's just because he's hurt. We didn't get a follow up to it, and I would have liked to follow up. I think that's the only thing that
this could have been a good series, and I'm with you on that. All right, moving on to there's two pointers.
Two
first
pointers.
One, Steven, I'm kicking it over to you, which was your number 9 ranked Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, the cash in of the Money in the Bank at WrestleMania 31.
All right. I love this. I think this was the full-on arrival of Seth Rollins. It's also the biggest cash-in of Money in the Bank ever. And Reigns was getting a lot of flack for not being able to lead the match, and Lesnar was getting a lot of flack for being a part-timer at the time. And when they went into the match, they did something that not a lot of people were doing at the time, and I'm positive that was a real fight. They fought each other. They just hit each other really hard, and it was to the point where the match was a banger. And then Seth cashing in kind of put the history stamp on it because no one's ever cashed in at Mania before. No one's cashed in at Mania since. And it was something that, it's the biggest cash in that's ever happened. And he did it on arguably the two biggest stars of at least the last 10 years.
Yeah, I agree. That raspberry that Lesnar walks away with, that wasn't a knife. That wasn't anything else. That was being punched repeatedly in the cheek. That's how you get that kind of stuff.
So I've got a quick question, boys. Have you guys collaborated behind my back? Because Steve seems to know your picks, Michael, and vice versa. And I don't know if anybody sent me any of this stuff.
No, you don't know my picks.
No, Mike knows my picks.
I know everyone's picks.
Mike knows everyone's picks.
Because you're the all-seeing orb. Got it.
I am the host. I had to look at it. And I didn't look at this when I was compiling my list, but I have looked at this. So this is not a surprise to me. That's why I'm introducing them to you guys. If we had a different host, maybe we could have done it differently, but I want to say I drew the short straw, but I actually love this shit. So I think we all are in the right spot with each other.
I was born with the short straw, so, you know.
Well, I'll kick it over to you.
I feel bad for your girlfriends.
Oh boy. I'll kick this over to you, Scarps, because you get to go again.
Yay!
With your number 9 pick, which was Bret Hart versus Yokozuna at WrestleMania 9.
Yeah, so realistically, the main reason that this was on my list, just the end of that match, the turn where Yokozuna pretty much takes out, or I should say Fuji takes out Bret Hart with the powder. And he's blinded. He can't see. They give the match to Yokozuna. Hogan runs out. They do a live challenge to Hogan for the championship. And Bret Hart's like, go. You got to go wrestle. I think for those reasons, like that, I was a real big fan of that match. During the match itself with Bret Hart wrestling, super technical. We know who he is, what he's capable of, what he's always done. The man is a living legend, right? He was amazing. But for that reason, that was on my top 10.
So
also because Hogan walks away with the title.
Oh, yeah, that's my guy. Come on.
I was so disappointed to see this on your list. Because, I'll be honest with you here, because I was planning on making a joke at the number 1 match, which I didn't vote for, but you guys loved it so much, was Hogan versus Yokozuna at WrestleMania 9. Because it's so bad. Like, I hate everything about that.
That's why it's perfect.
And the fact that you put it on your list, I was like, not only am I mad that it's on your list, but you ruined my joke. So you're welcome, people. You could blame him because that joke would have been beautiful. And now I don't have one for that.
Well, shame on you. And also, that's what you guys bring me in for. So you're welcome.
Yeah, you are 100% right. That is why we bring you in here. But I feel no shame, so it's fine.
Beautiful.
So the next one here is surprising because this one actually got 2 votes. Steven and I both voted for it. This is my number 9, Steven's number 10, and this is Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 37. So it only got 3 points, but 2 people voted for it so low that it didn't make the top 10 list. It's the only one that falls into that spot. I'll talk about it first because I ranked it higher. I like this match a lot. I think that this was, I mean, it's the arrival of the American Nightmare to WWE, right? We get the Cody Vader. We get a really good match. I really wish Rollins would have been more surprised or more angry in the ring. Like he was just like, oh, look, it's him. Like the crowd starts chanting Cody and he was like, stop making me wait because it's clearly you. Like, give me a little bit more emotion there. But otherwise, this match was awesome. They put on a clinic for everybody at Mania. The story leading up to it with Rollins just like decimating every bit of scenery and then going to McMahon and him coming in thinking he was fired and being like, why didn't you just ask? I would have put you on the card if you would have just called me and said, hey, I want to be on Mania. He's like, what? I don't have to do all this bullshit? I could have just been there? Go ahead, Steven. What do you got about this one?
I love this match. I was at this Mania, and one of the things that I love about this match is this match follows Bianca and Becky that night, and they had given you such like a high. And the way the match starts off, they start off with just straight basic wrestling, and they bring you back down to build to put you back up. And I love what they do with the match in that. Also, I agree with you, Cody arriving. This is the start of the biggest storyline of the year for the last 2 years. So this is why it ranked as my number 10. Yeah, my number 10. And I probably could have ranked it higher. The only reason why I didn't is I kind of want to see where we go with the finish of the story, if we ever finish the story.
If we ever do that? Why don't you just tell me the end of the story? Awesome. So next I'm going to go back to Scarps. Scarps, you're here again with your number 8 match. This is one that I was surprised wasn't on my list. When I went into this, I expected this to be actually a bit higher, probably around where you have it. But we have The Rock versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 18. This one, as opposed to Bret Hart versus Yokozuna at 9, where I was shocked it was on your list, I was shocked this one was not on mine. So tell me why I'm wrong.
So clearly you're wrong because it's you. However, having said that, we see that there's a theme with my picks, right? I mean, I'm very biased when it comes to the wrestlers I like. Having said that, I thought this match was iconically so a clash of legends. You had The Rock, which was the new era of wrestling, kind of at the time, and then you had the golden era in the Hulkster, right? And Hulk Hogan. I thought that was incredible. The crowd was split between both guys. Who do you cheer for? Everybody was on their feet. The showmanship of that fight, I thought, was really fun. They were able to captivate the audience. It was not ridiculously technical, but it was still pretty technical. And then, Hogan in Hogan fashion, making a comeback, hitting the leg drop. The ending itself, too, trying to pay, homage or saying, okay, Youngblood, I'm turning this over to you. There was a little bit of a passing of the torch, so to speak, from Hogan to The Rock to say this is the next huge superstar. So I thought it was a really, really cool match.
I think part of it, I don't think it was as good of a match, like the actual match itself, as
whatever.
And I think that if The Rock didn't leave to go to Hollywood and like took this moment to then dominate the WWE for the next 10 years, this would have ranked high on mine because it would have been just such a significant impact on wrestling in general. So in that, I think that's why it doesn't make it. But everything you said was right. I agree with that because I'm a fan of this match. It just didn't make my top 10.
Fair
My
enough.
only point for this match is: have we ever noticed that no matter what, Hogan always gets air on that leg drop? Like he gets super high, even when he at the end of his career, he's almost getting the full 6'6" on his leg drop.
And at Mania itself, so I told you crowd reaction was one of my criteria of what makes a good match, and I gave my highest score was a 10, and only one person got a 10 every single time, and that happened 3 times, and it was Hogan. No one crushes Mania like Hogan did. Like it's not even comparable. Even some of these other ones where I gave 9s, I even gave some 9.5s. Like I think I gave the 9.5s just to respect the Hogan. It was like it wasn't a Hogan pop. Like he gets an extra point here.
Listen, the reason Hogan is Hogan, the man could come out today and everybody's getting goosebumps. Their hair's standing up. It's Hogan. Nobody's like, oh, not this guy again. Everybody gets excited whenever he makes an appearance.
But I think that like during a show, particularly when he was back, that started to wane a little bit in this match when he became Hulk Hogan again in this match.
Yeah.
At WrestleMania. Like that was like I feel like I'm getting goosebumps on it, and it's not even on my list. That's how
he stopped being Hollywood Hogan. He was Hulk Hogan.
He was Hulk Hogan again.
Yeah.
All right, and the last of these close but not quite there. Steven, I am disappointed in you. This is my disappointed face.
What do I have on there now?
WrestleMania 10, my number 8 pick is the best brother versus brother match of all times, at Mania at least, and it's Bret Hart versus Owen Hart. This match is a freaking game changer in my opinion, and I know I didn't rank it. Like there's so many good matches that you can't rank it crazy high. But Bret versus Owen, man, like they put on an absolute clinic here. It is a complete back and forth, little brother syndrome in full force. I think this match is made even better because Bret goes on to win the world title. And when everybody is cheering for Bret Hart, there's Owen being like, well, I guess that's supposed to be my belt.
Just being a jerk.
That was almost on my list too. Phenomenal match.
It just constant near falls. Like you were on the edge of your seat. The crowd was lit for the opener match, arguably the best opener of Mania history. You could argue it, but like it's got.
I will say that this is the best. This is the best opener in Mania history, as far as I'm concerned. Honestly, it was very close to knocking off Cody and Rollins for me. I just think that, again, the story that we're seeing with Cody is the real reason why Cody was my number 10 at the time, and why this one, honestly, this probably falls to my 11. It's not a real honorable mention, but I know how significant that match was. Well, how awesome that match was.
How dare you? This isn't an honorable mention match.
How dare you?
How dare you? The people love that he won. He wins with that. He wins with that that victory roll counter.
Mm-hmm.
When he puts Bret down, like how classy of an ending, and I think it's established Owen as an upper mid Carter, like for the rest of his career, like being able to win that match. It never made him a main guy, and maybe he gets there if horrible incidents don't happen. But this match, like I absolutely love this match. It was so good. I thought WrestleMania 10 was strong overall, and so that is now the end of our I guess not honorable mentions, but close, but there, but not quite there.
Close, but no cigar.
But almost kind of, sort of. So we now have a controversial thing. We made a top 10 list. And number 10, there's a tie. Both of them got 4 points. Both of them were two people's number. So they got 4 points, number 7s, and no one else voted for it. So Scarps and mine.
I don't want to know who has which one. I just want to know the matches.
Well, what we're going to do here, Stephen, is we're going to talk about them each, and
Okay.
you're going to decide what's on the official list.
Okay, I'm in.
All right.
So listen up and keep your mouth shut, Steven.
Would you like to
However-
continue?
I don't know if you realize this, but I'm the captain now.
So, Scarps, would you like to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'm going to let you go first, Michael, since you're always right.
Yeah, and I believe I'm going to be right here at the end too. Which I was actually shocked that this wasn't on either of your guys' matches, but the WrestleMania 24, King of WrestleMania versus King of Wrestling, Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair in the retirement match. And just remember, guys, after this match, Ric Flair never wrestled again. This was a final wrestling match for him ever. His career was done. Nothing else happened after this match for his career. He did some
Manager stuff.
He showed up as Sting's last match. He
was on Carson or something, right?
But otherwise, he never wrestled again.
I mean, outside the WWE, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't happen.
Well, it doesn't happen, exactly. So this was a fairy tale ending at the fairy tale WrestleMania spot. Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels. The guys put on a clinic of a match. Ric Flair wrestled like it was 20 years earlier. There's this amazing spot where he does a stalling suplex that, like, a man of his age should never have been able to pull off, but he still did it. His greatest hits. He hit a move off the top rope that happened, twice in a lifetime? And he did it. And Rick and Brett and Shawn Michaels, I'm getting emotional now. Oof.
This is the emotion that WrestleMania brings out of people.
Listen, on top of all, there wasn't a category, but like the match that brought me closest to tears was freaking this match right here. Because if you watch the end of that and you're not like, I'm not crying, you're crying, then you don't like wrestling. I just think that the impact of this match, everything that you could say that you want from this match was fantastic. They really wrestled for a while. They had a bunch of near falls. The dirtiest player in the game was out in full force. Eye post galore. After this match, I have a theory that we were talking about last night, Steven. I guess I'll drop in here because Shawn Michaels, I believe he's a bit of I don't want to say that he steals moves, but he earns the right to use them at WrestleMania.
He's like the Peter Petrelli of wrestling.
Exactly. If you beat Shawn Michaels with a move, that is such an accomplishment that he is then allowed to use that move at WrestleMania later. And there's a few instances of that through these matches, one of which later on, Ric Flair, he uses like an inverted figure four. He does it slightly different. He starts it like he's doing the sharpshooter and then flips his knees in to make it a figure four. And it's a dope move. I don't know why no one else has stolen that one yet, because it is cool. It's literally taking a combination of the sharpshooter, which she used a bunch after losing to Brett, or being hit. You don't have to lose. You each have to use it at Mania. And with the figure four from Rick, I thought it was great. There's a few moves that he steals throughout, or earns. Earns is a better way. Not steals. Earn.
He's an empath. He absorbs them.
Exactly. I love this match. I think this match is so much fun. I think that the storied career of Ric Flair going down this way was absolutely amazing. The story leading up to it, his next loss, he was done, and then he went out and beat a bunch of people he had no business beating to lead up to his Mania moment. Before this, I don't think Ric Flair had any really, really good WrestleMania matches, and this one blew all the other ones he had out of the water. Macho Man Flair could get an honorable mention, but that was a bit of a disappointment for me because I had like much higher expectations than what I got out of it. Not that it wasn't a good match, it just wasn't in my top 10. It might still be on here. Not trying to spoil anything, but it wasn't in mine. That was one of the ones I assumed would be in because how much I like Flair. So that is my case, Stephen. And if you have a heart, you have any emotion in that husk of a chest of yours there, you will choose mine. But now I will kick it over to
opposing counsel.
To opposing counsel, who has chosen his number 7 match at WrestleMania 17, The Rock versus Austin 2.
Listen, I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I would hate to outshine Mr. Showtime. So let me just hit you with a couple highlights of this incredible match. Okay? This match was balls to the wall. It was high octane from start to finish. Okay? The whole thing had people on their feet, brawling, punches, kicks, steel chairs. Need I say more? Yes. We had the rock bottom. Through the announce table, the Rock executes his move. You think life's over. It's a high impact rock bottom through the table. Let's talk about the sharpshooter that the Rock puts on Stone Cold. Stone Cold counters it. Come on. You're pulling out Bret Hart moves now in this match. The rock bottom kick out when Austin kicks out. And let's talk about Mr. Showtime's least favorite moment of this match, which may have been my favorite moment of the match. And that was the heel turn that the Rattlesnake takes at the edge of that match. It was a dramatic conclusion. And I got to tell you right now, Steve, if you don't vote my way, something's going on in the books, man. You guys are cooking.
So, are you saying that he smells what you're cooking? Is that?
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.
So, this match is what made me think about why I don't like duplicate matches.
Shush! Steve, I believe you have to vote first, actually. No. Listen, let's hear your vote.
All right. If you prefer, I have some things to say about this match, but I'll hold it for Steven so he can be unbiased before.
You've heard both sides of the tape.
Of what I hated.
Oh man!
And plus, Steve, you've seen both of these matches, so also
I've obviously seen both of these matches. Yeah. I've seen both these matches a couple times this week. Flair Michaels was probably real close to getting into my list. There was a little bit of me wanting to do it just because it is Flair's last match, and I said impact on the business. Rock Austin 2. I felt like him going heel was a failed experiment. That was the only that's one of my big issues with this. I do like, so to reiterate what Showtime has said, where it's a redo of a match. It's not just a redo of a match. It's a redo of the same exact match. It's still a no DQ match. That's my thing that I don't like about it. Is 2 years in a row they have they literally do the same match with the same stipulation. I'm gonna go with Flair Michaels.
You son of a bitch.
I could see the sadness in Scarps' face.
Steven,
I'm leaving. I'm out of here.
Not to mention the "I'm sorry, I love you" super kick is how I wish to start saying goodbye to people.
I don't think your hip flexors will allow you to do so.
It'll be the best way for me to go out of this world.
You're going down like a sweet nothing, bud.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, when I say "I'm sorry, I love you" super kick, and I'm saying goodbye, I mean I'm saying goodbye to myself. Like I'm just done.
Steve, you captured a couple things. And Scarps, we were talking about before because I didn't tell you this. I didn't tell anybody what these lists were beforehand, but I was surprised this one was on the list. I was surprised that this one was on your list because the beginning of it's a redo of the first match. Then it goes into Stone Cold's greatest hits because they steal directly from his and Bret Hart's match from earlier on. And then there's other things I don't want to kind of spoil because these moments are actually on this list.
Who doesn't like a tribute mashup?
I love a tribute, especially Tenacious D's tribute.
This is the greatest and best song in the world.
I want original. Save your tributes to SummerSlam and other places.
What's wrong with an amalgamation?
Don't muddy up my Mania when I could have something really cool and original. Like I think I said this to you last night, Steven. Like I wish this turned into an I Quit match instead of a where neither man is known for their submission moves or how to get people to quit. If this turned into an I Quit match, would have been so much cooler.
That would have been really cool, actually.
If they had done a different stipulation on this match, honestly, Scarps, you probably would have won this one.
So with that said,
save it.
With that said, I can now officially say Number 10, Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair.
Yeah, whatever.
Next is number 9, Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey. This was only voted by Steven, and it was his number 6 ranked match, so it has 5 points. Steven, why did you tell us about this match? Like the two, Scarps and I don't have this on our list. I will say it's a bubble match for me. Like I wouldn't have been surprised if it made it onto mine. But tell it, why does this deserve to be where it is?
So I have a couple reasons for this one. The main one being, this is the first time that the women main event a WrestleMania. First time that someone does something, and this is the peak and pinnacle of it changing from being a women's revolution to the women's evolution, where they started being, where they are looking like as equals with the men, as they should be. Let's just get that one out there. Also, you have the 3 biggest stars you could have in that at the time. Becky Lynch wasn't the biggest women's star at the time. She was the biggest star in wrestling at the time. The crowd is hot for it. And the ending of the match, I'm huge on. I love the fact that they kind of ended it with kind of a roll up off the armbar. It was definitely a cool match. I love the entrances on it. I think this was like I said, the peak of what women's wrestling is and could be. I thought it was a hard hitting match. And I put this on here, and for the record, I'm not a Rousey fan. I'm not a Rousey fan in wrestling, and I'm not a Rousey fan in in UFC. This match made me a fan of what she was doing at the time, at least. It quickly subverted because she left, but it cemented the fact that women should be considered at least for the main event spots at Mania, so long as their stardom is proper.
I had that sitting at 13, man. So that is a great match. Didn't she just write another book too, Rousey?
Rousey just wrote another book, and she just bashed the WWE to all hell recently.
Yeah.
Isn't that the whole book?
Yeah.
That's kind of just the book.
I'm pretty
it's
sure
actually
that's
called My Life of Bashing the WWE.
This match, you're 100% right, Steven. This match was absolutely awesome. I loved what they did with the whole thing. I love the ending with a nice little crucifix. You don't see that all that often. And, the more I watch Becky, the more I want her to get an opponent that can wrestle at her speed, because I think you're going to see some grade A wrestling. Period. Doesn't matter if it's women's. I don't think it matters if it's men's. I think that Charlotte Flair is an absolute goddess of wrestling in this. She was the queen then, and now I think she's even higher. I love Ronda's shtick in the WWE. Her wrestling isn't necessarily my style, but I thought between the 3 of them in this match, it was the perfect amalgamation of styles to actually pull this thing off. I'm not a big fan of 3-way matches. I just think that it always ends up muddled, and then you end up getting 2 people in the ring while another person is just laying on the side for some reason. They got hit with a back elbow, and now they're out for 10 minutes. But later they're going to hit with 3 DDTs in a row, and they're going to kick out. But whatever, that's the normal shtick for that. But
that's a never
see that this much. I thought
that's a never give up mentality. Okay, they don't quit. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, Steve. Is that normally I don't like matches like this, and this one did it better than most of the other ones did. And I like that about this. It was a constant pace. This one, for me, I don't have an actual rank, but of the ones that made, I had a bunch of average scores. I don't know where it would have fallen, but this fell in the next group that would have made it. So I can't say it was actually 13, but it was in that 12 to 20 because they all had the same score that I would have had to go in there.
Yeah, that's just where I happen to have it on mine, because I had 30 matches that I was trying to move around, and that one was iconic. It was important for the women's revolution, and a hell of a match.
Also, a point that though we were not there, this is at MetLife. They won over a New York, New Jersey crowd, which is not easy to do. You have to be hot to get over on that type of crowd. At Mania, it's huge. The one thing that I
Huge.
don't like about any three-way match, though, is that, and I've talked about this before, is that it's automatically no disqualification. I would love it if they said, okay, you can't win by disqualification, but someone can eliminate themselves because of disqualification.
Like,
it's the only thing I don't like about the match because they kept bringing it up.
And like, what did it mean that like when you grab the ropes, you can't break the hold? Because
I thought that's not even part of no disqualification. I thought that was
so. Like, if you watch the Michaels Triple H Benoit match, when you grab the ropes, he broke the hold.
You break the hold.
There was no count out. There was no DQ. All that stuff still worked. But when you grab the ropes, and there's a great spot where Ronda climbs up the ropes to show
climbs up. And don't get me wrong, I love the spot that she does it on, but at the same time, like it's.
I'm a stickler for the rules.
They need to not do that all the time.
I'm a stickler for the rules, Steven, and I'm with you on that front. I squarely fit in that spot of don't make it the norm. Like, if it's intense enough and you want to make that, you can go there. All right, then I'm going to move on to number 8. Number 8 was chosen.
The highest number yet.
Was chosen by only one person as well. Got 7 points, which means that it is this person's number 4 match, but no one else voted for this.
Is it me?
It is you. It's Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels, the 78-minute or 72-minute Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12, because 60 minutes was just not long enough. Scarps, tell me about it.
This match, first of all, it was an Iron Man match, right? So 60-minute time limit. It goes over, like you said. The wrestler with the most falls or submissions wins. That's who's declared winner. But this fight was, to me, this match was so technical. Hart and Michaels both showcased their abilities. They had transitions into submission holds, high-paced action, and they were like seamless transitions. Again, I talk about it. I've talked about it a few times over these other ones, but the near falls and escapes I thought were phenomenal on both sides. Obviously, his sweet chin music when we're talking about Michaels hits him with the super kick. Everybody's on their feet yelling. It goes into overtime. Bret Hart sharpshooter comes into play. The match was just, for me, it just summed up everything I loved about wrestling. These guys just gave it their all, and they beat the ever-living crap out of each other. I just thought it was a great match.
I do love this match. I do say a lot of times that it's not my favorite Iron Man match of all time, but I do love this match. I don't disagree that it should be on this list, even though I did not put it on my list. It's one of those where it was somewhere in my top 15 or 20. My favorite spot from this match, though, is when HBK super kicks just the random guy because Bret Hart gets out of the way. It's on. I love things like that where, again, you're suspending disbelief. If a ball hits a ref in football, that ball is still in play, right? Like the ref is part of the field. So like the photographer on the side of the ring is still just part of the side of the ring.
It was the timekeeper. Put some respect on that face. He had a role.
Oh, it was the timekeeper. That's right. I knew it was over in that area. Yeah. But I've seen Bret Hart take out a photographer too during a match. So that's going to be one of those ones that we bring up during our Best of SummerSlam matches.
This match was one of the ones I was surprised wasn't on my list. This has everything that I could want more. This also fits in that same little bubble of just outside, which all the same scores. The thing that gets me a little bit in this one is this starts the trope of HBK being like, everyone seems so surprised that HBK decided to come out here and wrestle tonight instead of doing all his high risk maneuvers, which they use every single time a wrestling match happens in WrestleMania. It happens like 6 or 7 times. Yeah, surprise, guys. He could also wrestle. This match made me realize that I was never an HBK fan. Right. But I realized that he's the one I wanted to see all my favorites beat. And that is what I always loved about it because he did more of those high impact moves or whatever. I respect his talent, but he was never the one that I wanted to root for, but I loved watching him get beat by anyone else. The
HBK to me was like the Brett Favre of wrestling. You know what I mean? He was just tough as nails, bro. He hit hard.
Yep.
He took a lick and he kept on taking.
And this match, in my opinion, is when he arrives. Now, I know that he's had this storied career beforehand. He's one of those weird guys that kind of came in at the end of the old guard and ushered in the new guard. And in this one, when he finally wins the title, when he finally gets over the hump of everyone, like constantly getting that opportunity to win and lose, having Diesel get the title before him when he was his bodyguard, and then losing to Diesel, and it all culminating to this moment. This had such a huge impact on the wrestling industry. It had everything you'd wanted in a match. I love this match. I'm still so surprised it didn't make my list, but I think one of the things, I love the idea of only one pinfall and having to go into overtime. But I bet you this match would have been way cooler if there was like 5. And I always hated that they stopped it when Michaels was in the sharpshooter, but didn't start it back up when putting him right back in there. That seemed like a nice little slight to Bret Hart. You lose because you had him in your finisher. We just ran out of time. But let's just start it over again and keep going. Anything else on this one, fellas?
No, I'm good on this one.
No,
I like that it made the list, though.
I'm just glad that it did make the list because it's an awesome match, and I really enjoyed rewatching it too, man. I was glued to the TV, but that's all I got.
Number 7.
Bum, bum, bum.
You guys are crazy. This match, only 2 people voted for this match. Scarps, you're dead to me.
Oh!
Steven, you made this your number 7 match. How dare you? And
wait, did I?
On my list,
oh yeah, I did.
Is the number 1 WrestleMania match of all times. Got me talking about it at number 7. You goons. And it's Bret Hart versus Rowdy Roddy Piper at WrestleMania 8. This match is the epitome of WrestleMania matches for me. I love this match. It's a clinic. You got 2 legends going toe to toe. You have Piper, who is unstoppable at times, going up with this new kid, Bret Hart. I know he had been around, the Hart Foundation had been around for a long time, but this is him really breaking into his own single space. And I think that this match, probably above any other, is the arrival of Bret Hart that we all knew, the one that ended up becoming this legendary single star, with his winning of the IC title, with him kind of taking the baton. This is like one of the first baton. I know that technically Warrior Hogan gets the baton pass in this, and that's what everyone talks about. But you know what? Warrior dropped that baton. Bret Hart never did. And like, there wasn't a dull moment in this match. The crowd was on fire. The melding of the brawler and the technical style was perfect in this. And the way they end this match, I'm still popping about it, because Piper puts on the sleeper hold. Bret Hart runs over the corner, kicks over top of him, and pins Piper while still in the sleeper hold. Is the absolute best finish. I don't need a sharpshooter. I don't need some crazy 7 stunners to put somebody down. I'm going to put you down like this. And that Stone Cold versus Rock 2 match that we were talking about earlier, Scarps, when Austin puts the Rock into the $1 Million Dream, they steal this spot in that match. The problem with it doesn't work.
They did it better.
No, they didn't, because
your match is mediocre at best.
They didn't even get a pin. They didn't get the pin.
No.
So that is what
Get your rolling pin out. We're baking bread.
What I think is the best match. Go back and watch that again, knowing that it's my top match. That match is fantastic. It's everything you want for a WrestleMania.
I'm upset because I didn't even think about that match. and I definitely didn't give it a rewatch. Had I, it would have been on my list because that was
Shame.
an incredible match.
Shame.
Yeah,
Shame.
mediocre at best.
But I'm so sorry. I should have watched
anything.
Yeah, but really, it was on my top
10. So I don't disagree with anything that you said, Showtime.
I do.
I think that this match was awesome. I've always thought that this match was awesome. I am happy that we got to do this so I could rewatch this match, because this match, and there's one other match on this card that I really, really enjoy. But this match in particular, I do agree that this is the start of Brett turning into a main eventer. I don't know. So I believe that his arrival overall was actually a few months before this, when he originally won the IC title. But I think this starts his run, him winning the IC title from Piper, who had been a main eventer, who had done this stuff. And then it leads directly into that SummerSlam 92, where him and Bulldog actually main event SummerSlam in Wembley. And I love how that goes in. The only reason why I think it's not higher is this is the start of him being looked at as the main eventer. I think if you could have flip-flopped them and somehow have gotten him and Bulldog into the main event or into Mania at that point, I would have looked at that as probably putting it a little higher, because that would have been the real turning point for him going after Flair almost immediately after that for the world title.
That's kind of an elitist way to look at things.
You don't just pin Piper. I don't think people these days understand the significance of putting Piper on his shoulders
lost
for a 3 count. He lost a bunch of matches.
No, he never lost.
And
he was all out of bubblegum.
He walked out of the matches. I'm done with this. Or he got disqualified or whatever.
Well, he's never been beaten.
Yeah.
He's lost matches, but he's never been beaten. And that was he never lost to Hogan.
He
never actually got beaten by Hogan until WCW days.
It is so rare to put Piper on his shoulders and get a 3 count. And Bret Hart does it here. And it, in my opinion, knowing what I know about wrestling, makes all the impact in the world. And I think that this one, without this match, you don't have the Wembley match that you're talking about. Because this is what really elevated him in order to be able to do what you're talking about at SummerSlam the next time. So that's why I think that this is where it starts for me. And it kind of goes.
The match also has the line of the night from Bobby the Brain Heenan.
He's got 2 of them.
My favorite is still 2 ugly guys just staring at each other in the ring. That's fun.
And then he has another one talking about Brett's mom. She went antique shopping earlier, and while she was there, she's so old that they just kept her. And just kills me, man. Heenan was so funny. I didn't have too much here, but in the earlier ones with Gorilla and Jesse Ventura, I thought they were great. Heenan and Gorilla were amazing. I started finding myself like ranking the commentary the same everywhere, because until you get to later Manias, the actual commentary, even when you get to the King and good old JR, it's just so good that I don't even know if I have a favorite. They're just different, and they do different things, and they're fantastic. So
I think my favorite. I think my favorite commentary team is still Heenan and Gorilla.
I think that if I have to make a choice, it's that. But Jesse and Ventura are
awesome too.
Yeah, Jesse and Gorilla are just
and Gorilla. Yeah.
So, okay, so now, oops, number 6.
6.
There is two people voted for this one. I'll give you one guess on who didn't. And they were ranked by me as the number 4 match.
Oh, it's probably trash then.
And Steven as the number 5 match. So we're pretty close on this one.
Oh, yeah.
So at number 6 is The Rock versus Stone Cold at WrestleMania 15.
All right. Rock Austin.
I technically ranked this higher, Steven, Let me see. Let me put this show doc. I'll let you go first this time.
So I like this match because it's the first time that they do it. These two guys were and are the two biggest stars of the Attitude Era. And this was, I don't know if maybe it's the culmination, but it's definitely the pinnacle of everything that the Attitude Era was, which is also the highest grossing, highest drawing, all of that. The fact of the matter is both of these guys were able to, at one point or another, kind of take their ball and go home. Austin actually took his ball and went home. Rock at least went and did movies and then came back, but they were able to kind of come and go as they please. And it's just a proof of how big of a star that they both are. This match is great. Kind of where I said for the Rock Austin 2, I didn't like that it was a no DQ match because this one is a no DQ match. It's the only reason why I didn't want that one to be the same. I don't like it being the same exact thing. HBK just mowing down McMahon in the beginning is also pretty awesome. Like, I'm the only one who gets to make rules in here. I'm the sheriff.
Yep.
Although you could definitely tell that he's still kind of he's still on some medicine at the time. Let's just leave it at that. His back was still hurting a lot back then.
Hey, ketamine's a hell of a drug.
It's a hell of a drug. So is penicillin.
True.
Steven, this felt like the last big match feel for a while of WrestleMania. Like when I was going through this process of watching all these matches, until you probably get to Taker or Shawn Michaels, this is like where you go from big match to big match to big, like they all felt big. After this, I felt like there was a big step down. Scarps, everything you loved about the second time they met, it's all in this match, and they just do it better at first. The fact when they get drawn into the crowd is absolutely mobbing them. It is crazy. Yeah. I couldn't believe that they let them do it. In the second match, they had a bunch of yellow shirts surrounding them, so they couldn't do that. But they go through it. There's this nasty knee bump that Austin does on the outside to some of the ring equipment, where his bad knee just wraps around the thing. I don't know how they did that perfectly, but it was absolutely insane. There is, if you watch this match is so fast paced, and there is one rest spot in the entire match. There's a chin lock that The Rock does to Austin. That is like the only rest spot in this entire match. This match is insane from the beginning to the end. They don't stop. This shows how unstoppable Stone Cold was at the time. And for me, this is like the crescendo of Austin, like not the beginning of Austin, but like him at his absolute most dominant, because he gets rock bottom twice and he kicks out of it. He gets decimated by the chair. Like he just gets rocked by like 17 chairs from The Rock, and he kicks out. But
he gets rocked by The Rock.
He very Cheeky. Much, there's boulders being thrown here.
But Cheeky. He does also manage to stop The Rock. Can't stop The Rock.
He could stop The Rock.
He could stop The Rock,
though. But then the stunner, he hits the stunner once, and the only reason it gets kicked out is because the ref wasn't there. That was at least a 7-8 count before the ref got over there, and then one stunner puts him down. The stunner was so devastating at the time that he just crushes The Rock, and the match is over. And he took such a beating in this match, and he's just the toughest man in human history when it comes to the WWE. And so this one really gets me to pop. Like I love this match. Like I said, I slotted it one spot above you, Steven. But it was so good. And for me, speed and pace of matches mean so much. And the fact that they only had the one rest spot and they were moving the entire time. Later on, you notice in Manias, there's a lot of laying around after massive spots, right? Them kind of selling out, like, oh, we've done so much in this match. Now we need a breather. Whereas in this match, that just doesn't happen. They just kick the shit out of each other for about 25 minutes straight.
This match is so good.
So good. This was one that I was surprised ranked as high as.
And Scarps is just over there steaming because it's not number 2.
No, his is number 2. Listen, if you know what I mean.
Oh well, My number 2 had the same wrestlers, boys. So you know what? Eat a whole bag of them.
It did. They just did it all better in this match. That's the point. All right, fellas. Number 5.
5.
All of us rank this. Steven, you and I ranked it exactly the same. I think that's the only exact same ranking. And we both made it our number 5 match. Scarps makes it number 6. For me, the most surprising match on how far it fell, I was actually thinking that this one might have been my number 1 coming into this. And it's Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 3. Get it, boys. You want to talk about guys going full speed and not taking a rest spot. This is that
for
match
a really
right
long
here.
time.
I didn't get, like, when I did my 1 to 10 rankings, I didn't give anyone a 10 at match pace but this one. And I gave the last one a 9.5 out of respect for this one because it went so fast the entire time. And they just beat the ever-living shit out of each other. The
Balls to the wall.
My only critique on this match is that I hate that Macho Man technically wins, but the ref wasn't there. And then later on, Ricky wins the second pinfall. They used to do that an awful lot in these earlier matches. Like that was like the cliche.
Especially for WWE. WWE did that a lot, where like the ref was constantly out of position.
He was constantly out of position. You'd get a win, so they both look strong. You'd see it so many times, but they are on fire this whole match. So many near falls. The story leading up to this was great, breaking Ricky's larynx. And then all of the clotheslines, and not lariats, Scarps, you don't have to boo me. The actual clotheslines, when they drop them on the top of the top ropes, were great. Like they worked so well throughout this. The fans were on their seats. I understand that the main event this night kind of overshadows this match, but the significance of this match to all of the wrestling we watched today is incomparable. Like the lasting impact of this match completely trumps Hogan Andre later on, because every single wrestler we see from HBK on, even some of the ones before, took their style from this match.
So it pained me to put this match as low as I did.
I was surprised.
This is my favorite WrestleMania match of all time, ever. I love this match. I think this is his.
Yeah, seriously. So your list is a giant piece of shit, is what you're saying? I mean,
no, because I don't think that it's the most important WrestleMania match of all time. It's my favorite match, though. I think this match, everything that you said, that this, because of wrestling styles, and this wrestling style lasted. And if you watch this match right now, this match is still as good today as it was in WrestleMania 3 37 years ago.
Well, I think that speaks to the chemistry that they have with each other, too.
The one thing that I have to put a knock on this match is because something that they did, and it was cool that they did it, but it also, as you said, with younger wrestlers taking this, they wrote out this whole match. Literally, they've said it, that they wrote out the match. They had, I think, 163 spots that Savage and Steamboat sat there memorizing for months. And they would quiz each other during house shows, during primetime wrestling, during Saturday Night Wrestling, whatever. And they'd just be in the locker room being like, hey, what's spot number 136? Like, blah, 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 blah. It works here. It also works because it's Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Randy Macho Man Savage, who are OCD and two of the very best in the ring. You can say whatever you want about their promo style, about anything else. Inside those ropes, these two guys are two of the best. They've had the best matches with the best people. The problem that I had with the everlasting effect is it caused people to stop being able to call on the fly, because way too many people started doing this planning out matches style. And I think it hurt it a little bit. And that's where it hurts it with me. As far as this match goes, this match is perfect. It's perfect. I had to rank it lower because unfortunately it's not the draw of the show.
I get that.
That's really the only reason why it goes even as low as it does on mine.
At 5, and like it's so. I thought this was gonna be 1 for me when I started.
I thought I was going 3 with this originally. I knew where I was going with 1 and 2 probably right off the bat, and I thought this was going to be my number 3 spot. Having to push it down to 5 just because of how this all worked out, it breaks my heart. I literally have a plaque in my house. I'm looking at it right now from that match.
Well, kudos to me for having this on my list. Okay.
You have anything for us on this match, Scarps? You had it just one spot below us, so you were right there with us.
Well, I mean, again, I'm not going to rehash what you guys talked about, but excuse me, the chemistry that Savage and Steamboat had was almost unmatched. I mean, today, you don't see matches like that where the chemistry between the two wrestlers is just so tight and just so well developed that the match is seamless. And it's a rare breed to see matches like that. And this one, absolutely iconic, one for the decades.
So Scarps, I understand why Steve and I like this match so much. I'm all about the technical in-ring presence. I get Steven's kind of mentality around this stuff. Scarps, as our fan, right? As our mark, what's the biggest draw of this match for you? Like, what is the thing that you like the most?
2 things that really stood out to me were the Dragon Sleeper counter and the small package for the pin. I just thought that was so well. They were both so well executed, and they stand out. They were absolutely just pivotal. They were at the top. It was just phenomenal to watch.
You don't need to throw 15 finisher moves to put somebody down. You can just sneak a small package in there and, oh, look, I win. See you guys later.
No, but you know what you do need to put somebody down with? 15 Ricky Steamboat arm drags, because I'm all about that life.
Yes, I'm with you too. All right. So now, guys, we have a little bit of controversy here.
Bum, bum, bum.
We're technically supposed to be on number 4, but 2, 3, and 4 have all tied with 15 points. Now, I don't think that one of these matches, I think people will be surprised on how far down it is technically, and that's all Steven's fault. Steven, what are you doing here? But before the show, we all decided that we were going to go in Mania order. Are we still good with that, fellas?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Because now I don't want to start this way because I'm about to get a lot of flack. So the first, number 2, is WrestleMania 3, Hogan versus Andre the Giant, which is not on my list.
Who are you?
So
wow.
So here's the deal. Before I get
Kick rocks.
If we were doing WrestleMania moments, this might be my number 1 moment with the Scoop Slam. But let's be real. This is not the best match in the world. I get the draw. I get the hype. I gave crowd reaction a 10 on my numbers. I did all this other stuff to make it. It's in that bubble spot for me, but it's just not the best match for me. Now I'll take a step back. I'll take a step back because this is Steven's number 2 match, and Scarps is number 1.
You're damn right it is, boys.
All right. So I'm going to go first on this one.
No. It's got to go.
Oh, you want number 1 to go first?
This is his number 1 match. You got to let him go first.
I was going to let him go longer.
No,
for those of us listening right now that can't see the video feed, I did just turn my hat around. Hulkamania, established 1984, right? This match for me was everything that made me a fan when I was a kid. Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, 2 titans of wrestling. Yes, you talked about the slam, right? The Scoop Slam. I mean, to pick up a 550-pound man and put him on the canvas is otherworldly when it comes to just athleticism and strength. I don't recall. I think I heard something somewhere along the line. I think Hogan hurt himself during that slam too, slightly. Most likely, the Giant's huge, man. Andre was larger than life. But I don't even need to tell you why I ranked it number one. It's got Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant in it. Those are my reasons. That's it. It was perfect.
He hurt himself in the first one as he was going.
When he went to pick him up and couldn't.
Well, I mean, if we're listening to what Hogan says, he literally tore every like muscle in his side when he did it. I don't want to claim that Hulk Hogan may occasionally lie, but Terry Bollea exaggerates sometimes.
Kayfabe's real, man.
So this match is huge. Not just because of the size of people that are in the match. If this match didn't work, if this Mania did not work, we would not be talking right now. We wouldn't be having this conversation. Pro wrestling might still be around, but it would not have ascended to the level that it did. That is all because of this match. This match put 93 asses every 18 inches apart.
93,000 asses.
93,000 asses. I'm sorry. 93,000 asses, 18 inches apart.
That's a lot of butts.
It did, and they turned people away. This did the one thing that you want your matches your main event to do. It drew people into the building. This was the main event, and this was the event. That is the only reason why I put it higher than Savage Steamboat in any way, shape, or form. Those are the only two real matches that you need to talk about from WrestleMania 3. Don't get me wrong, WrestleMania 3, great event. Go back and watch it if you have not. But Steamboat and Savage knew who was drawing them in, or who the show was being drawn in for. Their goal was to steal the show. They did steal the show.
100%.
Hogan Andre, though, this is the first real passing of the torch as far as I'm concerned. Andre was the biggest star at one point. He could go anywhere and he was still Andre the Giant. The only thing that I wish, and this wasn't possible, but if Andre was healthy, because this was the start of him getting bad. And I hate the fact that it's the start of him getting bad, because if you go back and you look at some of the stuff before some of the giantism had really taken over on Andre, that is an athletic 450, 500-pound man who just does stuff. He does stuff he shouldn't be able to do. That's my only knock on the entire match.
You saw him when he got back into the ring and he was trying to stand up and he's pushing off on all fours trying to get back up. You could tell he was starting to decline physically, unfortunately.
His back and his knees and his ankles, all of it was all going at once. And it's sad to know that that's what it is, but it's also amazing to know that he was able to give us this gift.
Inconceivable.
Fezzik's my favorite, man.
He literally gave us this gift of a WrestleMania match and gave us the gift of what WrestleMania became before he couldn't anymore.
So, dude, you had the fans throwing stuff at him as he's coming out, making his way to the ring. I just thought it was so well orchestrated and dramatic. The storytelling was fun.
Everything you guys are saying right now, I agree with. I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into my scoring here because I feel like I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this not being on my list. But I have it ranked at a 10 for crowd reaction, obviously. I have it at 10 for significance and impact on the industry, though this is not for me where Hogan arrives. Like, Hulkamania is already running wild. He already is world champion. I get it. It's almost like the old guard to the new guard. I'm with you on that front. And I give you a 9 for storytelling. And the storytelling is mostly because of Bobby the Brain Heenan, the freaking weasel himself. We have not talked enough about him in this conversation, so I have to jump in here. This is, if you watch leading up to this, Hogan and Andre are friends. Andre's so happy for him when he wins the title, and then the weasel starts whispering in Andre's ear, "Why are you not champion? Shouldn't this be you?" And he corrupts him into this monster that thinks he's been slighted his whole career into this match that needs to be there. One of my favorite, I don't know how believable this story is, but if you can believe some of the tales of this story, is that Hogan doesn't know he's going to win this match when he goes out there. He doesn't know what's going down. If Andre wanted to win, Andre wins this match. And when it gets to the end, he's like, "Slam." And Hogan's like, "What? Slam me." And he slams him. And it's over. It's one of those like this is what makes WrestleMania feel epic, and this is one of those epic matches. But then when you look at in-ring performance, match pacing, this is a slow match. This match is slow for someone who typically appreciates a slow match. There's like a 10-minute bear hug. just hang out.
He's just hugging
guys.
He's just hanging out. What's up, pal?
Creativity and originality is one of my things, and like this is just the high spots of all of their moves that they've ever done. I don't think anything new is really in this except for Andre actually getting slammed. So that's why it falls off my list. I don't disrespect any of the impact this match has to the industry and it giving us Mania. I have to be fair. I set out criteria and I had to be fair to follow it.
So with your with your criteria going on there, I know you said it's a 10 for match interaction or for fan interaction.
Crowd reaction.
Crowd reaction. I'm sorry. Honestly, I'm going to go higher than that. I know we only grade on a 1 to 10. The crowd reaction on this is like a 15. And one of the things that happens in this match that this is like a happy mess up because this wasn't supposed to happen. The high-low that was bringing all the wrestlers to and from the ring, after it brought Andre to the ring and they brought it back to have Hogan come out, broke. They couldn't get it up and running. And Hogan and Vince just took it on themselves to go, I'm going out there. So that's why if you look at that entire show, Hogan is the only person who walks to the ring. And full on hulks up the entire way, and that crowd, all 93,000 plus of them, are going nuts about it. It is the biggest crowd reaction I've ever seen for Hogan ever, and that's kind of saying something.
I told you, Hogan is the only person that ranked a 10 on my crowd reaction, and he did it 3 times, and this set the bar for all of them. Maybe the other two aren't quite at, like, Rock Hogan, the roof is getting blasted off of that after that place. I think the other one is Hogan Warrior. They're just going nuts the whole time. Everyone else gets a 9. I don't even give anybody 9s at half because I needed to make a delineation between Hogan pops at Mania and everyone else. Whereas there's other ones that get 9s, like Rock Austin 1. That place is shaking.
That place is on fire.
It's on fire. It does not get a 10.
That place is on fire
because Hogan's not in that match.
I'm pretty sure that the reason why the Pontiac, yes, I'm pretty sure that the reason why the Pontiac Silverdome isn't there anymore is because Hogan and Andre had that match, and the crowd noise was too loud and destroyed it.
Scarps, I'll put it on my my list right now. If you put that shirt on and then rip it off.
So I will not rip this one off, and I think Steve will tell you why.
Because he's ripped too many Hulkamania shirts.
He's not lying, bro. Like, I think I've ripped four of them, and I had a 5th. I lost it. Steve was actually awesome enough to buy me this one. And I was like, bro, hopefully I will never rip this. However, I might.
Listen, you be you, kid. You be you. If there's a Hulkamania t-shirt, like even if someone else is wearing it, feel free to go rip it off.
All I'm saying is if I happen to be wearing that shirt and somebody plays his intro, Real American, right? Rick's, yeah. I'm ripping the damn shirt.
All right, fellas. We're going to move on to WrestleMania 10. We have at the second, number 2. Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 10, first ever ladder match. This one showed up. This is Steven. This is my Steamboat. This is my Savage Steamboat. This one came up as my number 6 match. The fact that this didn't end up in my top 3, I am just astounded with myself. This then came in at number 5 for Scarps and number 3 for Steven. So Steven, I can't believe I'm giving up the first ever ladder match, but take it away.
I mean, first ever ladder match at WrestleMania. Not the first ever ladder match ever, obviously.
It was a house show.
First ever
house shows don't count.
Well, I mean, they had them in territory days too. So, but first ever ladder match at Mania. That says a lot. This also is Michaels proving that no matter what, he can have a phenomenal match. And I'm not taking it away from Scott Hall. This was Razor Ramon, Scott Hall at his very, very best. I think he was still clean at this point. He's in phenomenal shape. He looks, they just had the biography for Scott Hall. He's the coolest guy in the room. Especially back then, it was to the point where how do you not love Razor Ramon? And that match was epic, just so good. It was enough of a train wreck and car crash and still a wrestling match that it's everything that I want from a WrestleMania match. I love that it's in the Garden. I love that. I love Sean's mullet. I love everything about this match.
Don't forget Razor's mullet. He's got a solid mullet as well.
I know, but Razor was at least slicking it back at first.
So many.
It's not until he gets about halfway through the match that the mullet, that the grease mullet, kind of loosens up, and you realize that he's got big froey hair. But I love this match. I think this match stole that show. I think if this match wasn't on the card, Owen Brett would have been the best match on the card, hands down. That would have been the match that we were talking about. And then Sean and Razor went out there and said, F all of you. We don't care. We don't care if you think that we're as good a wrestlers as Sean and Owen. We don't care about any of that. We are going to prove to you why we are going to be the most important match on this whole card. And they did it.
Scarps, you ranked it one spot ahead of me, so I'll let you go next.
I did, and I'm going to tell you why, and it's really just one spot for me, and that is the Razor's Edge off the top of the ladder. When I was a kid, we'd all have the pool party, swimming at the pool. I was always Razor Ramon when we were wrestling. I would always Razor's Edge people into the pool, which I thought was so fun. But that spot alone, to me, put that on my list because I thought it was the coolest thing I had ever seen at the time. And rewatching it, it was just as cool. It has not lost any of its flair for me.
These two guys wrestle a match. Like, they show you that with minimal weapons, when you can use a ladder as an actual weapon as well, you can go out there and put on a good match and still have this gimmick. Those of you that don't know this about me, the ladder match is my absolute favorite gimmick match. It's the gimmick of gimmicks. I just love the way it's used. I love how creative it is. Having those tag belts hanging from the rafters and having to go up and get them is so cool, in my opinion. Like I like a good submission. I like a good pinfall. And if I can't get that, give me belts hanging up on the top. When it comes to significance, like, let's be real. TLC doesn't happen without this. Money in the Bank doesn't happen without this. None of these iconic, that spear on from Edge to Jeff Hardy doesn't happen. The ladder match has become almost a go-to gimmick, and it's all because of this match, because these two guys went out there, figured out how to make it work, and just went for it. I think the crowd, it was funny, I was watching the crowd in the beginning. They were just kind of confused on what was going on. They're like, what is going on here? Like, how do you have a ladder in a wrestling match? And then by the end of it, they were on their feet. It was absolutely him. The most iconic Scott Hall pose for me is him on top of that ladder, holding both of those belts out with his arms straight. It's I can't say enough about this match. Like, that's why I was surprised it fell so far down this list for me. It's still in like my top, what I say is 6. I have it at 6, so it's still a respectable spot. These guys just do so much with what they have here. I love that. I know it's so insignificant, but Razor goes under the ladder as he's walking down, and I remember the commentator. I think it was it King?
I think it was Lawler.
Was it King?
I think it's Lawler. Yeah.
Does he want to lose this match? You can't go under a ladder. It's like, that's why he's going to lose this, because he went under the ladder.
Yes, that's why.
This one, just for so many reasons, was one of the best matches in Mania history for me, and I'm happy it ranked on this list higher than I put it on my own list, to be honest with you.
So one of the other impacts of this match, kind of how you said, if we don't have this, we don't have Money in the Bank, we don't have TLCs. I think we don't get other matches too, because if this match, let's say this match doesn't work, at least Shawn doesn't have the influence that he has at this point to go get Vince's ear and say, I want a Hell in, or we didn't know it was Hell in the Cell, but I want to do a cage match, but I want to do it differently. Like WCW and NWA were doing the cell style matches at the time. Yeah. Well, and that was the thing, is they changed it from the blue bar, the blue hard bars to the fencing style, and it was just easier to climb. So some of this stuff that we just accept as common practice now, if this match doesn't work, we don't get it. But yeah. I think, like I said, I think this match is perfect.
Oh, Showtime. That was a perfect opportunity to go. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So anyway. All right. So
look at Steve just sitting there like, I'm going to kill both of you.
Not at the same time.
Why'd we wake you up?
So the third, number 2. Steven, what are you even trying here? Like, what's going on with this one? So The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25 is your number 8? What are we doing here? It is my number 4, and it's Scarps' number 2. And this is the one going into it that I was like, I don't know how I'm going to keep both of these matches out. And luckily enough, I have creativity and originality as kind of one of the things. And when you kind of do the same match twice, it's easy to knock it down a peg.
Son of a bitch.
But this one, I mean, we all think this match is absolutely epic. It's awesome. But Scarps, you have it at your number 2, so get it.
I mean, let's talk about the fact that the match itself was electrifying. He kicks out of a tombstone, right? Michaels kicks out of a tombstone, which is unheard of, right? At that point in time, nobody ever got up after that finisher was hit.
I don't think so.
Undertaker hits him with a second tombstone as a finisher. The match itself was just acrobatic. It was intense. The diving elbow onto the announcer's table, it was just full of action. There were near falls, which we always love in matches. Anything to get the crowd on their feet. Just Undertaker's athleticism in that match, I thought was really high too. It was at a high point for me.
I'm next. This match might be number 1. Yeah, because you're not very good at this game, Steven. I'm next. This match might be number 1 if it isn't for all the kickouts of finishers. I feel like they kick out of the super kick like 100 times. They kick out of a tombstone. They kick out of a bunch of choke slams. And this is the beginning of, like, not the beginning of kicking out of every move, but I get what you're going for. The storyline in this, though, good versus evil, light versus dark, this was epic. This match is so good. And the finish, as much as I'm talking about, I don't like all the kickouts. Michaels goes for the moonsault off the top rope and is caught into a tombstone. That is absolutely perfect. It is. He takes him down, and like when I think I was like, you better not kick out of this. Like, that's when I'm at the end of this, like, yelling at my TV, you better not ruin this moment for me. Like, just stay down.
Like, just let this be perfect.
Because they, in both matches, they do where he hits the tombstone, he does the eyes and the tongue when he's pressing down, and he kicks out in both ones. Again, not original, which you've already done it last 2 years ago or last year. But that moment when he does the moonsault, because he has such a pretty moonsault, and gets just caught in the tombstone and then dropped, it's epic. It really is. The whole match for me, it's the culmination of which is arguably the 2 best WrestleMania competitors of all times. Give Hogan in that top 3, so I don't get beat up more than I am already for not having Hogan, Andre on this list. But these two guys made their careers at WrestleMania. So like Hogan didn't make his career. I think Hogan made Mania, and Mania made Undertaker and HBK. And these two going at it, this leading into the next year of it being his retirement match, which he also retired and never wrestled again for HBK. Saudi Arabia didn't happen. And it was such a good story leading up to it. It had that big match feel again, like I had mentioned. I felt like in between the first Rock Austin to this match, which is essentially what are we looking at? You're talking about from WrestleMania 15 to 25 for 10 manias. It was missing that big match feel for me. Like just something that felt like it transcended wrestling, and this match had it again, and I think brought it back in a big way.
I love this match. I do love this match. I don't care that I'm lower on the list than you guys.
8?
You know what? You know what? Shut both your high holes. I got this. I hate you so much. We shouldn't have woken you up. I really do like this match. The storyline to this match is probably my favorite part of this. The entrance with Shawn coming down from the heavens and in all white. I thought that was one of the most epic entrances of all time. And that's to a guy who has nothing but epic entrances. This was the best Taker match on any Mania. I really believe it. And I'm not trying to be insulting to anyone else that he's wrestled. I thought him and Edge was good. I thought him and Batista was good. This is the best Undertaker match on any Mania. I don't know if it's the best Shawn match. I don't think it is realistically, but it has the most significance because he only had one more Mania match after this. And I think this was just huge all around. This was a really good match. I really like this match. I know I didn't rank it as high as you guys did, but mainly just because, again, Mania in general, aside from some of the Taker matches, didn't have too many big fight feels to them. This one finally did have it, but the rest of the card is okay. I have one other match on there that I really liked, but the rest of the show in general is just kind of meh. And that's kind of a running thing with some of the early to mid 20s Mania cards.
There is
I get a lot, or actually, I'm sorry, from like 24 to like 28, there's a lot of meh cards in there.
There is, for me, from maybe even from 19 to like 28. The only match that you have to go and watch is the Shawn Michaels match.
You know what's shocking? Neither one of you guys mentioned any of Sable's matches.
I'm surprised none of us mentioned Goldberg versus Lesnar, actually.
Yeah.
From WrestleMania 20.
Is that the squash match?
That is not the squash match. That is the one where they're both leaving.
And everyone's booing them?
Everyone is booing them out of the building. Everyone. It is panned as one of the worst matches in history. Match itself actually isn't that bad, but they really took the fact that they let the fans tell them that story.
All right, guys. So we have Uno Mas, right? I want to do just a quick breather. We went through a lot of things. I think that most people who are paying attention could probably guess what number one is on this list. But at the end of the day, I want to give a couple honorable mentions that didn't really make the list. And since we're talking about Taker right now, coming down that one, I'll go first real quick with I watched Taker versus Jake Roberts from WrestleMania 8. It just happened to be on. I think it was on right before the Hart Piper match, and it was a quick one, so I threw it on. And these guys had just a couple minutes, and they put on an absolute amazing match. Like if you have like 10, 15 minutes to kill and you just throw on WrestleMania 8 and watch Taker Roberts, it's good. Taker kicks out of the DDT, which never happens. And it has that I wish more of these Taker matches of the streak felt like this one, because there's a bunch of them that are mixed in there that are just like, oh, this is just a squash match for the dead man. And
Well,
this one
like the
was
time the Taker gets chloroformed.
yeah,
Yes.
right.
Yes, like that.
So that was my first kind of honorable mention. That like we won't spend too much time on these, but like worth a watch. Steven, why don't you throw me an honorable mention?
So, my first honorable mention, it's never going to be in my top 10 list, but this is a good match just to watch. This is going to be a little bit of a callback for me. Jericho versus the Legends at WrestleMania 25. This is the only other match I really like to watch other than the Taker Shawn match from that Mania. So for the first, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes, it's not that great because the first two legends that are in there are Piper and Snuka, and both of them you can very much tell are not in ring shape. I think that's the nicest way I can put it. Not in ring shape. But then for 10 minutes after those first two guys get eliminated, Ricky Steamboat goes out there and shows that at like 55 years old, 80% of Ricky Steamboat is still better than like 120% of other wrestlers in the world.
And yet you rank him as number 5 of all times.
He's still the best wrestler in the history of the world. I don't care.
Scarps, you got any?
Yeah, man, I'll throw it in there. How about the Narcissist versus Mr. Perfect? I want to say that was in Vegas, right? Caesar's Palace.
That was
Mania?
WrestleMania
It's a
9.
9.
I thought that was such a cool match, and it was just, you have Lex Luger, you have Mr. Perfect, Luger just being strong as an absolute beast for this match, and then you have Perfect come out being the technical guy that he is. There were a lot of twists and turns in the match, and the match ends by I want to say Luger pins Mr. Perfect, but Perfect's got his feet up on the ropes. Ref never catches it. They give Luger the win. There's controversy. That was a cool match. For me, that's honorable mention for sure.
I'm a big Perfect fan. So anything either I actually threw on this list of watching was Perfect versus Blue Blazer. It wasn't. It was literally ranked the worst match out of all the ones I had on here. Because all these other ones were just epic, and this one meant nothing. But it was a fun watch. My next one is another one that I just find more fun than anything else, and it's Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam Bigelow at WrestleMania 11. Let me just be fair here. I'm a Jersey boy and a Giants fan, so these things kind of fit into it. But I think Bam Bam doesn't get enough credit for what he could do in the ring, and he carried this match to be a fun match. And Lawrence Taylor came out there fighting and throwing these like crazy shoulder tackles, which they were calling spears at the time, which I want like Braun Breaker to watch this match and start throwing those shoulder tackles instead of the spear, just so we could stop throwing so many damn spears everywhere. And like this match was good. Like it was fun. Like it wasn't great. No, I think this ranked number 2 from the bottom of my list because like it wasn't a clinic or anything like that, but this was fun and something I enjoyed watching.
Hey, don't forget, without this match, we would never have gotten Steve Mongo McMichael in the world of wrestling.
He was ringside.
He was ringside. He was part of Lawrence Taylor's crew of football players.
Yeah. And honestly, this kind of for me, and like we'll do, I'm sure we'll do like best celebrities of all time or something like that at Mania. But for me, Lawrence Taylor ends up being my favorite celebrity of any Mania for the main reason that he gets in the ring and actually wrestles a match. Where like Mr. T gets into the ring, but like it's a bit of a brawl. I get what they were doing there. Tyson, Muhammad Ali, all these guys, they've done amazing things as special guest referees and things like that. LT comes in, he wrestles Bam Bam Bigelow in the main event of WrestleMania by himself and puts on a pretty good match.
All right. My
Nobody cares.
Next honorable mention. God, go away. My next honorable mention is actually my favorite match from my favorite Mania. And that's Kurt Angle versus Eddie Guerrero from WrestleMania 20.
So good.
I was about to get so mad at you.
Oh, good. Keep going.
I absolutely love this match. I know that this was not technically the main event, but the ending to this match, the storytelling, Angle being a little bit more sadistic than he had been in the past, and just being a machine and going out there and telling everyone that Guerrero is a drug addict and this should not be the guy that's representing the company as the WWE champion. And this is top flight Guerrero as far as I'm concerned. This is the peak of Eddie Guerrero. I love this.
Which
match.
Mania was that?
This is
WrestleMania 20.
20.
I thought this
20.
was
This is the last Mania that they also did in the Garden, and I love what they did here. This is, again, the ending of this match is just, it's chef kiss.
You're a little biased, I think.
This match I thought was going to sneak into my top 10, to be honest with you. Kurt Angle has been a part of a lot of those matches that just kind of missed for me. This one was so good. You had said before in previous podcasts, Steve, that the best heels are the ones who don't know their heels. And this is like the epitome of that, because Angle is just talking about the WWE fans. They don't even know that they deserve a better champion than Eddie Guerrero. And I am that champion. I am that guy that will give you the respect that you need on this belt to take us into the next echelon or whatever it is that he's preaching. And he is so righteous and so wrong because no one likes him. You suck. Though they do start chanting his name in this. He was still kind of over. And this match, I'm with you. I absolutely love this match. It's so good.
Steve actually almost fought Kurt Angle. I was there for it. But I digress. I want to fast forward 1 year to WrestleMania 21. And this is where I thought you were going with it at first, Steve, and that is Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels.
I thought that was going to be on the list, too.
The dream match. It was a really, really good match. Just a lot of grappling, a lot of mat work. The technicality in this match was just precise. And it was just, for me, it'll stand out, amongst all of the others that we've been talking about. But I felt like it deserved at least honorable mention.
You know what else about this match? I can't believe that Shawn Michaels wrestled in the beginning of this match.
I can't believe it. Can you guys believe that Shawn Michaels is going to come down here and take a wrestling clinic to Kurt Angle? They said that about. Let me go to the videotape. So you have WrestleMania. Where are we at? WrestleMania 12. I can't believe he's going to wrestle Bret Hart. And then it scales down to this one. It's also Chris Jericho. There's somebody else in there too. That Shawn Michaels, I can't believe he's wrestling. Yeah, guys.
Wait a minute. Shawn Michaels ended up beating the crap out of Mr. Perfect after that Luger match too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, so Perfect gets up. He's pissed off. He walks down backstage. Luger and Michaels are talking to each other. Mr. Perfect hits Luger, and then Michaels just starts wailing on him, hits him with a couple trash cans. I forgot about that.
That's right, because that leads into the SummerSlam that's right afterwards.
That's right, yep.
They say the same thing about Ric Flair when he goes out there and starts wrestling Rick. And like every one of them, they're so surprised every time he wrestles. It's like he's never done this before, but he's done it 8 times already at WrestleMania. My last honorable mention, this is the one I was most disappointed didn't make my list. That I was surprised I couldn't. Like I even tried to fudge the numbers a little bit to get this on there, and I couldn't. And it was actually last year's Mania, and it was Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. I think we're gonna go back in time, and we're gonna look at Rhea Ripley. That's her moment of arriving. And she became the most dominant women's champion of all times after this. The reason this doesn't make it is, Steven, you and I have talked about this countless times, is that not that Charlotte Flair mails it in, but she has a couple botches in this match that just kind of it takes it down a notch. Where I respect the hell out of Charlotte Flair. I think she's one of the best that we've ever seen. But they're like either she was already checked out or they were just trying to do too much and they weren't able to do it, whatever the reason was. And I'm not trying to be hypercritical. I think that those little things knocked it down where this could have easily been my anywhere between 6 and 10. If this was wrestled perfectly, they had the pace, they had the ideas, they had everything that they wanted to do. It just didn't execute the way I wanted it to.
So funny story.
Soup dumplings.
Yes. So funny story. This is also the honorable mention I was about to say. I think if this match was wrestled perfectly, like you said, this would have knocked off Charlotte, Becky, and Ronda for me. That the fact that the match wasn't perfect, and like I said, or like we both just said, it seems like Charlotte just isn't there
There's just something
in
off.
certain parts. Yeah, like, and I think part of it is too, if you look at Charlotte, like, again, these are only 4 years apart, these two matches. If you look at her, I mean, her actual body, not her body of work, but like her actual body, it's trimmed down. She's a lot skinnier. She doesn't look like she's carrying on as much muscle as she was in 35 as opposed to 39. And I think that has a little something to do with it, with some of the botches. Again, I'm not going to say anything that woman is not athletic. She can do things that none of us could ever hope to do. I'm just saying that maybe it's just also because she is a little older. I'm not saying old, but older than she was, obviously. And her body was just changing into this shape at this point. I think if that match was wrestled to 100% perfection, yeah, that would have taken my Charlotte Becky Rousey spot.
Like there is all these matches we talked about today. They're like, if there's a one little botch, it's covered up perfectly. These matches are all perfect, and without this match being absolutely perfect, it can't bring a top 10 of Mania of all times. Like it just can't do it. You guys have any other honorable mentions before I move on to the next one?
No, I'm excited.
No.
Are we getting into the number one spot?
Oh, sir. Number one. Number one match.
Let's go.
All times.
We're acknowledging it.
Ranked number 3 by Scarps. Ranked number 2 by Mr. Wright. And ranked number 1 by stevezapf is the one and only Bret Hart versus Stone Cold at WrestleMania 13. Steven.
Submission match.
Take the floor, bud.
Oh, where do I even start? How about we start at the beginning? Bret and Austin calling each other out. Bret specifically calling out Austin when he came back off of injury started this whole thing. This has been building and building and building. The storyline behind this is everything that you want. It has big fight feel. They have a double turn in it. Bret turned without even trying. They didn't stop wrestling the way they were going to wrestle. The fans organically turned on their own. I like that Bret is the one who suggests that they turn it into a little bit of a schoolyard brawl. So you have technical wrestling in it. You have fighting in it. You have the big fight feel. You have a little bit of color in it. And when I say a little bit, I mean a lot, because Stone Cold bleeds and bleeds and bleeds. This match is so good. It turned Ken Shamrock into a star in wrestling, and he hadn't wrestled a single match for WWE yet.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Ken Shamrock tried to be a pro wrestler before all of this. You can look it up. You can see the pictures. It's like Vince Toretti or something like that. No, not Dominic Toretto Scarps.
That's where I was going, bro. I was going right there.
I knew it.
Oh, man.
I know you way too well already. He tried wrestling before he went to do submission fighting and UFC and stuff like that. And he couldn't get over, which it's hard to believe that a dude that
and he did it for family.
He did it for the family.
This
match managed to do everything for everybody. This is the arrival of Austin. This has all the historical value that you ever need in any match. And for how many years was this the show of what happened? Was that the blood soaked on Austin's face screaming? For how many different advertisements, whether it was for Mania or do not try this at home?
This is the arrival of Austin. The sermon of Austin 3:16 just kicked your ass is what got him into this match. But without this match, he is not the toughest SOB in the world. he goes out there and without having a finisher move outside, I guess, the $1 Million Dream, he goes out there and goes toe to toe with Bret Hart. I can't, I knew this one was going to rank high for me. I thought it might even be number one when I went into this. And there's just so many good spots. It's Crybaby Bret versus hard ass Austin. They've built this up so well. This is, I don't know if this is true, but during this cycle of a feud is when Hart started doing the turnbuckle figure 4 on the outside. I don't know if it was actually in this match or the lead up to this match, but he does it in this match in the most iconic way. And that becomes now, if you ask people what are the top 10 moves Bret Hart ever had done, that becomes one of his signature moves from this. So like when I look for like creativity and originality and stuff like that, that really jumps off the page for me. These guys just dominate each other. They keep moving. There's not very many rest spots, even though it's a I Quit match. And the iconic face of Austin is it's just that, it's iconic. Like
or I mean, you talk about Stone Cold passes out in the sharpshooter. Like this match was incredible.
That's what I mean. Like he is not the toughest SOB if he taps. There's a spot in the Austin Michaels match where Michaels I think has the Rock has Stone Cold in the figure 4, and he's holding onto the ropes to try to get him to give more leverage to make him tap out. And I'm watching it being like, this is so unrealistic. There's no way he would tap out right now because I've already seen what he did with Bret Hart. He is too tough to tap out right now. I don't even believe that he's going to pass out from this move because he's that tough. And it was amazing back to this spot in this match.
In the words of JR, tougher than a $2 steak.
Right? the they go into the crowd, which didn't happen all that much at the time. They use some weapons here and there, but it's sparingly but effective. Like this is the epitome of a perfect match, in my opinion. And I don't like no hold barred matches. Like I like an I Quit match, but they turn this.
I loved Hogan in that movie.
This match, they kind of toe the line a little bit of that. And this is my quintessential I Quit match when it comes to mind. When I think about that, all the other ones that came after this is the one that comes to mind first. Like it's epic.
So also, I always say that how we said this is the arrival of Austin. Austin is the biggest star in WWE as far as I'm concerned. I mean, we can say Hogan. You can make the argument for The Rock. The Rock is the biggest star on the planet. But as far as just strictly in the wrestling business, the two people who drew the most money and were the most popular are Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Stone Cold was able to do something that no one else was ever really able to do. He decided he didn't like what they were going to do with him. And he said, screw you, I'm going home. And a few months later was welcome back because he's that popular.
And he was right too. Let's be real.
He was right. It was a waste of a match. That was his point. Was it's stupid for me to lose to him here. It's not dumb for me to lose to this guy. It's dumb for me to lose to him here. And if you're not going to change it, I'm going to stay home.
For those that don't know that story, the WWE wanted him to put over. They wanted to put over
Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar on like a Raw, just randomly, no build up, just put over Lesnar. And he was like, no. He said, I'm more than happy to put Lesnar over at a Mania, at a pay-per-view. Let's build this up and put him over. But I'm not just going to one-off put him over. It doesn't make any sense. And they're like, no, we want you to do this. He goes, cool. I'm going to go home. We'll see you guys later.
Yeah. I'm out. Deuces. And you're right. He was right. And this just proves, again, he has as much of a wrestling mind as anybody that I've ever seen. He's one of the boys. Hands down. I could never see Austin in a real authoritative role. Like I know they had him be the part general manager or something. But let's face it, he was the fun guy that rode the ATV around the ring. He wasn't the real authoritative guy. Mm-hmm. But he knows who he is. He knows how to work a match. He knows what other people should do to work a match. I think just because he's able to be away from the wrestling business and doesn't crave it the way everyone else does. I think that says a lot about him too. This match is two guys that if you make my top 10 list of pro wrestlers, they're probably in it. Bret Hart and Austin
there was no way this match wasn't going to be on anybody's list. I mean, without a doubt, we knew it was going to be on all of ours. It was just a question of where. And I love the fact that between the three of us, it's in our respectively top threes.
And this is also, I mean, almost universally like the number one match amongst people, right? Like, I mean, if you go through most of the list,
I see Taker, Shawn Michaels a lot as a number one. I also see Steamboat and Savage as number one. But for our list, I kind of stopped giving some of the scores. To put it in perspective, the ones that were the three-way tie for second place had 19 points. Bret versus Stone Cold got 27. It was a substantial difference where everything else was kind of bunched together. Like Steamboat versus Savage, if Scarps would have just voted for it as his fourth spot, it would have been the number two. So like that was how close that grouping was in the middle. There was nothing that could have been done to get anything close to this, except for maybe me ranking Hogan, Andre at all. Eddie, with that,
Scarps is just disappointed in you.
Fellas,
I'm just shaking my head, pal.
This was an absolute pleasure. Like I said, I watched 38 matches in preparation for this. I was seeing wrestling matches in my dreams, and at first it was cool, but later it was a little scary. Like I need to stop watching wrestling for a second. Any closing comments, guys? I think that this is clearly the first time this has ever been done. No one has ever
put together a top 10 for this.
At least, I believe they've never done one so well. And anything else, guys? Any parting comments?
I just want to say thank you guys for dreaming up this sweet idea. It's been super fun. We all got to get nostalgic, talk about some fun stuff. It's really fun to see that even though we all hate each other immensely, we can almost agree on some things.
Don't lie to me. You guys love me.
I love you so much.
I know. See? Don't lie.
I mean, he's so cute.
Right?
He's just so cute.
The one thing that I'm most excited about this list is to see what matches at WrestleMania 40 knock some of these off. Like Michaels, Flair, Charlotte, Becky, Ronda, even Bret versus Shawn. Like, dig in, because there is a couple matches this Mania that could really dethrone this. AJ versus LA Knight has a banger quality to it. Uso versus Uso has a banger quality.
I think Uso might steal our shows on both nights.
You know what? I'm starting to change my opinion because of this list. I think Rhea versus Becky may end up being the match of Mania. Because if they're both moving and how well that they can move and they're at the top of their game, it's going to be hard for anyone to top it. Particularly because I already saw Cody Roman last year. And so there's a few matches on these cards, and they're still coming out that could really make an impact long term, that make this list next year or whenever we decide to revise it. I think with that said, beautiful people, Legionnaires, thank you for joining us for this immense rundown of memory lane. If you haven't seen any of these matches, do it. Just do it. Don't stop. Just go. Particularly Piper versus Bret Hart. Scarps, I'm starting with you on that one. Go watch it.
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
And all of you guys, thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for the support.
Lariat.
And Lariat.
Peace out, y'all.